So hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Masai Gains on Cars. Today I've got a beautiful version of a Mercedes ML. The ML version is very popular in the United States, and this particular vehicle is actually made in the United States, and that makes me a bit wary. I like when German cars are made in Germany. Usually the quality is a bit better. Just ask Scotty Kilmer, he'll tell you the same. But this is a BlueTech ML350. It's got the V6 engine putting out just about 280 pound-feet of torque, and we've got just about 300 horsepower. But quite an efficient vehicle as well, hence the BlueTech name to it. But it's a beautiful looking vehicle. Basically the MLs, the earlier versions, the ML320 was such a significant vehicle for Mercedes-Benz. It was their first SUV, and some versions even had a live axle in the rear, and now they've changed it up, and you've just got independent front suspension and independent multi-link rear suspension. So the live axle is gone. The off-road capability is not so much there. You're not going to be able to put big tires on this and really beat it up, but as a city goer, something as a highway driver and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be a really efficient vehicle and quite luxurious as well. So let's check this out. Let me take you on a little tour of this vehicle and let you know my thoughts and if I like it or not. Thank you to Ace Prestige Motors for giving me this vehicle today. If you guys want to buy a new car, used or brand new, this is the place to check out if you're in Nairobi. Gong Road, Ace Prestige Motors. They got Land Cruisers, they got Range Rovers, they got it all. So want to buy a car? Check them out. So why don't I just take you on a little tour of the aesthetics of this particular vehicle. Mercedes vehicles are usually quite good looking, and Mercedes went through this era where in the 90s they had great style, the W140s and those kind of vehicles, and the initial ML320 was a bit bland but not a bad design, and I remember being young and really being fond of that vehicle, but it's evolved quite a bit, and the versions between 2005 to 2008 all the way up even to 2010, I believe, before this version, they were still not the best looking vehicles, but I think they've done a really good thing with these lights, and all the Benzes from sort of 2013, 2014, 2012 onwards. Basically, I really like the styling changes that they actually made. They made the Benzes starting to look better again. I think the design choices were worthwhile, and so you can see with this vehicle we've got a beautiful blacked out grille, simple, not too aggressive grills and crazy stuff like that. I don't like the approach angles, and by approach and departure angles on these vehicles are not great, and that basically means when you go into some rugged terrain, when you're in the national park and you go on some of those dips, I'm almost guaranteeing you this is gonna touch, and you're probably gonna break something and cause some expensive damage. But the headlights are great. You've got a projector beam, they look beautiful, LEDs are incorporated, big grille. I ran the code of this vehicle, and so we can see that this is a diamond white finish, and it's a nice looking finish, no doubt about it. I will take you on the interior, and we can see the sort of material choices we have in there and the luxury options of this particular vehicle. But it is an ML 350. We've got all-wheel drive, as you have with many of the Mercedes SUVs, and so you're going to get lots of traction, and at the same time it's quite firm on the road, and body roll and all those sort of things is not an issue. You've actually got a stabilizer bar in the front and the rear, so it's a vehicle that handles very well. And at the same time, the first thing I noticed was the steering wheel was very light steering wheel, so easy to maneuver this vehicle. And it's also got the shift paddles on the steering wheel, like that E-Class that I did earlier had as well. So all the Benzes of this era go along with that. So when I take you on the interior, let's see what it has to offer. Alright, so why don't we go on a little let me show you a bit more of this car. As I mentioned, I like the headlights. I like this sloping design over here and the two big beams that you get. It's a nice looking vehicle. You got black rims if we come on this side. You got black alloys, and you got a 255/60 R19. So we're talking about a 19-inch rim. You know, not too bad, not crazy large, and a 265/60 in size. So you have got a bit of a tire tread over there. So you know it would be smooth on the road. If we come on the interior, just real quick, I'm just going to go on the other side and can show you this interior. So yeah, here we are inside this 2014 ML 350 BlueTEC. As you can see, we've got leather options here, and a lot of features that are reminiscent of the Mercedes E-Class that I had done in one of the other videos, especially this opening over here where you got the split opening for your storage or whatnot. You got good space actually in this vehicle, better than the E-Class obviously. And you see, can got this carbon fiber trim, which is not so bad. We've got a plastic interior, vinyl finish, but everything seems solid, and the seats are not bad at all. Actually quite comfortable. You know, I always complain about bolstering in these sporty cars, and even this one is quite hard, but it is softer and more comfortable than that Range Rover that I did, that's for sure. So nothing too complex, actually, still quite a basic vehicle. They've not gone too mad. You got a simple navigation system, and you know, not too many complex systems that I would be worried about. This car should be alright. You got electronic seat adjustments, as you always do with Benzes, and you got the leather trim that continues onto the door and a bit more carbon fiber. So you know, cool options on this vehicle. And as you can see, we have got a panoramic roof, very similar to the E-Class, but you can see how dirty this bloody roof gets over time. So this particular vehicle, you can see it's already quite dirty, but overall pretty basic. And we'll just go on a little drive and give you my impressions. But immediately I know that this steering wheel feels very light, and it's very easy to maneuver. And as I mentioned, we've got those gear pedals on the steering wheel like we did with the E-Class, which you know, is alright. And you got independent suspension, so you don't have any diff locks or any of that stuff. No live axle. You've just got traction control settings and a few different modes. Looks like you got hill ascent and downhill ascent, but nothing too complex. And I would be worried if I took this car far off-road. It does have all-wheel drive, so that's not terrible. 4MATIC from Mercedes is not a bad system. And you've got seat warmers and all that kind of stuff. You've got seat warmers in the front. You've got an eco mode. That's what, because this is the BlueTEC version, so quite efficient. I'm not so sure on the MPG kilometers per 100 kilometers, but can check that out on the net. So let's go on a little drive. All right, so we're inside this ML. Let me just take you through the driving and how this feels. Quite a nice space to be in, I can't lie. I've actually forgotten my glasses on over there. Alright, so a bit of funny plasticky sounds that I'm not so much a fan of, as you can see. But overall, it looks like solid build quality. We're just going to put this into drive. Let's get out of here. So yeah, so as I mentioned straight away, what you notice is this steering wheel is super light. We're just going to go over a bump. So you know, over small sort of bumps on the road like that, the car feels alright. You got nothing special, you got no pneumatic suspension or anything like that. This is just independent suspension, and so it's not bad at all. And it's probably going to be more reliable in the long term. So visibility as we're reversing, as you can see, we're just trying to get out of a tight spot over here. The ML is quite thin. It doesn't have too much of an issue getting out of such spots. And the camera, same as most cameras in Benzes of this era, they do a good job. They definitely do a good job. As you turn the steering wheel, obviously the camera turns. This is not new technology, so we're pretty used to this. and it just makes maneuvering these kind of larger SUVs very, very easy. So just going to now turn up the AC and shut these windows off. Alright, so we've got some AC going now, nice and cold. Sound insulation is good in the vehicle. I'm feeling like it's pretty silent right now. It also feels pretty smooth, and I actually like the fact that I'm sitting quite high in a Mercedes SUV, almost like a Land Cruiser kind of, you sit pretty high. It feels good, even though this windscreen, I mean, is very slanted. Definitely very slanted windscreen. So just gonna get on the usual, a bit of unpaved road, bit of water, bit of rain, and pretty smooth. Pretty smooth. Yeah, it handles it well. Handles it well for sure. This is like our little dirt test track. I think that the ML did a good job. So we do have the V6 in here, but it's not putting out crazy power. We're talking about 300 horsepower, but it is a light vehicle, so it does move. So this vehicle handles pretty well. I like it. Still not as smooth as something like the hydraulic suspension in the Cygnus, but I've not been in too many Mercedes SUVs, and this particular one is made in the USA, which makes me even more wary. But they've got these seat belts that as soon as you put them on, they tighten automatically and those kind of things. But they've not gone too crazy with the interior. It's not that luxury. It's not that crazy. Simple carbon fiber details and those kind of things. It's all right. Climate control is good. We've got cold blowing AC right now, and as I mentioned, we've got the seat warmers. We've got two coasters over here for our cups. This would be a good vehicle to daily drive, actually. And I've gotten so used to this paddle on the steering wheel. Look how easy it makes it to just reverse and out. Turning circle is also very good, as you can see. Come around the back end of this vehicle. This is the first ML that I really like these tail lights. I like what they've done. This vehicle looks quite nice to me from the rear. But as you can see, we're right next to this bad boy over here, which is the 200 series, and you can see how much bigger the 200 is, so much bigger and bolder. This definitely looks like a small crossover kind of SUV compared to the big boys. But I don't have an issue. As you can see, we've got little details like the blacked out Mercedes badge, the blacked out trim over here, and so the accents of this vehicle make it look quite nice, quite attractive. But that is the ML 350, and one more feature that I like is just a simple click, and you got an opening. You want to load something in there, it does it all for you, and you've got ample space in this vehicle. This is not a small space. This would fit a decent amount of luggage, probably a family of 5, no problem. And when you're done, it's a simple click. I'm not so much a fan of these electronic things, but you gotta admit that they are useful when they work, so that's that.
Music, so there's this feeling like they're gonna do whatever they want and assert their own will and not worry about how it's being understood or whatever. Yet the wonderful thing about that is that